From the earliest days of exploration, man has populated the dark depths of the ocean with a legion of monsters from the even darker depths of his imagination. And although we may no longer believe in mermaids or gigantic sea serpents, it seems we still have our share of dark imaginings. And no other creature is the subject of as many modern legends as the shark. With a starring role in some of our most terrifying horror movies, he's been introduced to us as an indestructible, boat-crushing man-eater. But if you actually spend some time looking at these magnificent creatures in their natural habitat, it's clear that the character traits that we've imposed on them have very little basis in fact.
See, I'm scared of Scott sharks.
I'm scared.
Okay, great.
One scary big thing that's gonna eat me any second.
But the fact of the matter is, human beings aren't part of their food chain. And as we're going to see, they're extremely cautious and discriminating hunters. Hi, my name's Tudor Pierce. Welcome to Sharkbait. Every year, millions of people from around the world travel to destinations exactly like this one. For the sun, for the sand, and for the surf. But we're not the only ones to enjoy conditions like this. Tropical reefs make perfect habitats for one of the world's most common species of shark. But holiday beaches aren't big enough for the both of us. And man is a fearsome competitor, even when he's playing away from home. Let's look at the scores for 2005. Sharks were responsible for 7 fatalities worldwide, whilst man eats the opposition for breakfast. So, in order to find places where sharks are still undisputed champions of their environment, we're going to have to chuck away the holiday brochures and get well off the beaten track. Somewhere, for example, like the coast of war-torn Sudan. We've chosen this isolated offshore reef because we know it's home to an active and undisturbed population of grey reef sharks. It also gives us a chance to take a quick look at Conshelf 2, an underwater village built here by the daddy of all frogmen, Jacques Cousteau. Cousteau's grand ambition was to discover, by building an entire series of underwater habitats, whether it was possible for people to live and work underwater for long periods of time. One of the first things most people do when moving into a new area is get to know the neighbours, and Cousteau's team were no exception. But where you or I might invite them round for a cup of tea, Cousteau kidnapped the local children and set about rearranging the landscape with dynamite. But let's not take anything away from these early aquatic pioneers. This was the 60s. And while the superpowers were increasingly committed to an extravagant and political space race, Cousteau was convinced it would be much more profitable for mankind to conquer and exploit the underwater world. Today, standing on the seabed like some ghostly flying saucer, the remains of this submarine hangar bear eloquent testimony to Cousteau's ultimately optimistic vision of man's underwater destiny. Because although Conshelf proved that people could live self-sufficiently underwater, it never led to the kind of large-scale marine communities that Cousteau had envisaged.
As you can see, the entire structure is now covered with a colourful blanket of life. Thriving microcolonies of hard and soft corals have established themselves on the dome surface of this hangar, providing housing and protection for groups of damselfish and anthias. What used to be steel grey is now exploding in a riot of colour as it's reclaimed by the reef.
Everything here had to be designed with hydrodynamically curved contours to reduce drag caused by the currents that sweep this plateau. And 3 of the structures were habitable, with the largest containing over 500 cubic meters of clean, breathable air.
This would have made them incredibly buoyant, and they would have floated away without sturdy legs pinning them to the seabed. Raising these structures also allowed submersible vehicles to drive under here, providing an essential link to the surface.
The oceanauts received daily visits from a team of biologists stationed on the support vessel above. Because although Conshelf has often been dismissed as pure Gallic theatre, its primary purpose was to research the physiology of long-term saturation diving.
The effects of the breathing environment on the inhabitants of this community was one of the most important areas of study for Cousteau's team. And perhaps their weirdest discovery was that increased oxygen at this depth slowed hair growth, but accelerated healing of minor wounds. They also perfected some cutting-edge procedures for interacting with the local fish. And here's our first grey reef shark. A beautiful, healthy adult. Look how chunky he is. You beauty. But actually, he's not a male. That's a pregnant female. Look at that open mouth. That's called gaping. Showing me her teeth like that is part of her classic threat display. And those quick turns, they're designed to show off her superb agility. She's a very territorial animal, and she's letting me know who's the boss. And off she goes. But I'm sure she'll be keeping an eye on us.